Thing for Friday, the 28th of April. I'm Stephen Ridgway. There is new malware which has been seen to be stealing information from Mac OS. Targets at least 50 crypto wallets being sold as a service via a private Telegram channel for a subscription of about £1,000 a month. The malware is known as Atomic, or otherwise known as Amos, and it is. I mean, that's for malware. That's a fairly hefty price, but what you get is a DMG file containing 64-bit Go-based malware, which is designed to target Mac OS systems, steal keychain passwords, files, other passwords, cookies, credit cards, cryptocurrency data. So it's quite comprehensive. One thing you don't get by buying that is a means of distributing it and getting people to run it. So it is still up to you, up to the attacker to persuade somebody to install this thing. But once installed, it is quite a comprehensive set of tools, and you also, by the way, apparently get a very convenient web-based interface for managing your victims. Definitely one to look out for. I know that historically Mac OS has been less targeted or less frequently targeted than, say, Windows or some other operating systems. It remains somewhat harder to develop malware for Macs than for some other operating systems, although that in itself I don't think anymore constitutes a reason for not being careful with stuff. This particular piece of malware at the moment, at the time of writing of the article, had been identified by only one of the VirusTotal antivirus tests. However, my personal opinion, this is just my personal opinion, but if any one of those VirusTotal checks comes back as malicious or potentially malicious or whatever, I think there's a pretty good chance that it is malicious. And the other side of that one is if all of them come back saying it's clean, doesn't mean to say it is. It just means to say that if it isn't, it's not been identified yet. So I think VirusTotal is better at identifying a positive than it is confirming a negative. For the scientists among you, you'll understand the concept. So this particular piece of malware, there are some interesting some interesting indicators of compromise that are listed in this article and links on to further articles. However, at least one thing which I think is quite nice is if you are capturing network traffic, it does attempt to post data to a domain called amos-malware.ru. I would suggest that the clue is in the name. On other things, Minecraft remains popular. I think it's got something like 140 million monthly active players, which is a lot of people, and not all of them are going to be kids, is my guess. But as is the way of these things, a successful game like Minecraft has spawned lots of kind of look-alike type games. Unsurprising, other software developers or software vendors trying to jump on the bandwagon. However, some of these copycat games are not as legitimate as they look. So some researchers discovered 38 Minecraft copycat games on Google Play that are infecting Android devices with adware, hidden ads, basically. Stealthily loads ads in the background to generate revenue for the operators. The most popular dodgy Minecraft clone is Blockbox Master Diamond, which has had 10 million downloads. And then there are a handful that have had sort of 5 million or a million each. So these things are quite popular. That is quite a lot of downloads. So what can we say about this? Well, other than if you want to play Minecraft, just play Minecraft. I don't know. I mean, maybe there is an attraction to these variations. Not sure, but just be careful when you are installing things. You know, Google do a decent job of trying to keep the Play Store clean of bad things. They don't always succeed, but then I don't think any of the app stores or play stores or whatever, I don't think any of these repositories will ever be 100% certain that there's nothing nasty lurking in there. I think it's more to do with when they do identify these things, how quickly they get rid of them and how they deal with it. And I think Google isn't bad in that respect. So if you have, take a look at this. If you are playing one of these games, be aware there are hidden ads that are basically making other people money at your expense. So I came across an article on Dark Reading talking about the confusion around naming of state-sponsored and other sophisticated malactor groups. I think there is, because there is no standard, there have been pseudo standards over the years. I do remember a time when most things named bear were attributed to Russian groups, or things named panda were attributed to Chinese groups. However, all sorts of different organizations are coming up with their own naming schemes. Some of these things are known as APT something, Advanced Persistent Threat 28 or whatever it might be, but there doesn't seem to be a proper repository of these things. So Microsoft has decided to change its naming convention for threat groups. They've previously used an all-cap name scheme derived from elements such as actinium or whatever, and they are now moving to a two-name scheme based on storm terminology such as Aqua Blizzard, which is the Russian group formerly known as Actinium. So the new convention has, the name is designed to help you to understand where they're coming from. So blizzards for Russia, typhoons for China, tempests for financially motivated actors, and so on and so forth. The only problem with this is it doesn't line up with anybody else, and it's changing the one that they currently use. So it is, I think, holding back our understanding of what's going on. Not significantly, as in we're all missing it because we're not, we don't know what they're called, but where it definitely doesn't help when it comes to sharing information about TTPs, IOCs, and so on. If we don't all use the same naming scheme. So I would suggest that you keep on top of this stuff. I personally prefer to go with whatever the team at MITRE, the attack team at MITRE, name these groups, only because they've got the best view on TTPs for various threat actor groups. So whatever they call them is probably the easiest way to understand them. Yes, there is some kudos, I guess, in other organizations claiming other names because they can then, claim to have been clever and found this stuff and do whatever it is. But having a clear nomenclature of things really does help in disseminating information. So I'm not sure that having naming a group APT28 Fancy Bear or Forest Blizzard is really going to help, especially if Forest Blizzard is something that nobody has ever heard of before. So there we go. Not a particularly helpful approach, but it's an industry-wide problem. And until we, get our act together and actually start collaborating rather than competing in this space, well, we're going to struggle with these sorts of things. Then, finally, from me today, I came across an article on the Malwarebytes website. ChatGPT writes insecure code. So all of you who who've been following along and using ChatGPT to generate code, beware when research is now showing that the code it generates isn't robust, despite claiming awareness of its vulnerabilities. Bear in mind, ChatGPT lies. It has absolutely no morals because it's AI. It's not a human. So it also, have you ever met those people that so genuinely believe the thing that they're saying that they come across as utterly convincing, even though what they're saying is total rubbish? I've met a couple of people like that in my life. One of them was the CEO and effectively sort of head of all things to do with sales and marketing at an MSSP, who was utterly convincing in meetings, if you could ever get him to finish a sentence, but genuinely believed whatever it was that was in his head at that moment. Fascinating to watch, absolutely fascinating to watch. However, ChatGPT is exactly the same. It will tell you things as if it's fact, and it will be as convincing as you want, as convincing as your skepticism will allow it to be. That doesn't mean to say that it's writing good code. It clearly isn't writing good code. So just beware. It's not a magic answer. It isn't writing necessarily secure code. It will write ransomware. It will write malware if you ask it nicely. Part of the problem is that it's been trained to do things in a non-adversarial way. So my understanding, I'm not in the teams running it, obviously, but my understanding is it's been trained to be non-adversarial, in which case it doesn't necessarily take into account potential for vulnerabilities or the potential for the consequences. Well, it has no concept of consequences whatsoever, but it will not, unless you've specifically told it to go and check, will not be able to understand what might happen if it writes code in a particular way. So I think there's a lot of stuff about artificial intelligence. I think it is going to be very much part of the future. I also think that all these stories about it's going to be the downfall of humanity and so on and so forth are probably not about to happen anytime soon. Certainly not with the level of artificial intelligence that the systems have got at the moment. So anyway, there we are. Make sure you check your code if you're getting ChatGPT to assist you in your daily work. So that's all from me today. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great weekend. If you're in the UK, it's bank holiday on Monday. So if that's the case, hope the weather's good. Hope you enjoy yourselves. And I will speak to you all again on Tuesday.